David, perhaps you could tell me, why is neuroscience proven to be such a game changer for the world of sports?
I want to begin and talk a little bit about the background of neuroscience and why it's now being used in the sport world. So if you'll forgive me for a moment, I want to talk a bit about the history.
By all means.
So as you may know, in the last decade or so, one of the most important discoveries in the neuroscience world is about how plastic the brain is, how it's continually rewiring itself. With that discovery in hand, what we have as neuroscientists started to understand is that we can actually use technology to induce rewiring in the brain, to change it, to make it faster, to make people able to learn things more quickly. And with that, we're actually changing the brain's performance in a very profound and a very measurable way. Now, this work started in the scientific arena and then moved into the military arena, at least in the United States, where, for example, with Navy SEALs, people took technology and made their brains better. That type of technology is now migrating its way into the commercial realm, and I think the first and probably the most important place where it's going to be used is in sports. People have known forever in sports that most of the game is mental, but historically that perspective has been one which is kind of psychological in nature, right? You got to have your head in the game, that you want to be in the zone. What we have today with neuroscience is the ability to actually measure the brain, to understand what does that actually mean to say, I've got my head in the game, that I'm in the zone. We can measure that, and we can use this technology to rewire the brain so it gets faster, so that you can be in the zone on a regular basis, so that you can expand, for example, your field of view. So if you think about it, in the sports world, people have eked every single drop out of the ability to train the body. They've been measuring the body, they've been upgrading the body, and with that, sports performance has been improving every single year for decades. But in fact, above the neck, it's still a mystery. It's still something where you just kind of talk about it. Today we have the tools to measure the brain and upgrade the brain in the same way you do with the body, and the results are actually extraordinary. Now, we are one of many organizations that are, I think, creating a new world here in neuroperformance, where we're beginning to understand what are the metrics you can use about the brain which are really tied to performance, and then with that, what do you do specifically to improve it? And so what's going to be happening in the sports world, much like happened below the neck, is you're going to see the evolution of tools that allow people to create metrics about the brain, measuring things like processing speed, reaction time, field of view, ability to get in the zone, performance under pressure, and then using techniques, aggressive technological techniques, neurofeedback, electrical stimulation, cognitive training to rewire the brain, to upgrade the brain, and you're going to see truly dramatic improvements in performance. It's going to become a necessity for all sports teams in the next 5 to 10 years.
Now, you've already touched upon some of this already in that answer there, but what are some of the ways that the Platypus Institute is demonstrating your ability to work with and make the difference in the performance space, particularly for your partners, some of the teams and organizations that you work with?
What I want to begin with in answering that question is to say that we feel it's very important to approach this area from a rigorous scientific perspective. There is a lot of snake oil in anything that involves either the brain or the body, but particularly the body. There's a lot of stuff out there where there are claims that may not be backed up by science. And so the foundational theory in our work is we want to do things that are scientifically rigorous and measurable. And so when you ask the question, how do we work with teams, the beginning of that answer is we start with metrics. We want to create metrics about the brain where you can reliably say, I told you reaction time, processing speed are critical measures. We want to be able to measure it so there's no ambiguity. This player's reaction time, processing speed is X. We want to be sure that those metrics tie to performance. And so you can measure things about the brain which are interesting but have nothing to do. So we want to measure something which is reliable and that you can change with technology, where you know that you can make reaction time improve, you can make the ability to process information improve. And so The way we're doing it is in a very rigorous scientific fashion. We are doing case studies to show that we can take golfers and take strokes off of their game, that we can take basketball players and improve their free throw average. So you actually get reliable metrics showing if you measure something about the brain, you can improve that, and then when you improve it, you will measurably improve performance in the field. And so it's all about metrics. It's all about having something which is grounded in science and strong neuroscience.
And finally, what do you believe the next 12 months holds in your space?
I think I could say with certainty that neuroperformance is going to soon be a critical component of the training program for all professional and probably collegiate athletic organizations. And the reason is because it makes such a profound difference in performance. We're at a place right now where the leading athletes and the leading teams are beginning to experiment with neuroperformance, and they are absolutely finding that their investment is paying off. Sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour of training is creating such profound changes in performance, they're starting to invest more and more aggressively. But you're not seeing most teams doing this or most athletes. I think everyone's interested in the space, but they're still just trying to kind of figure out how it works. That's going to change just because the power of this technology is so great. And so I think during the next 12 months, what you're going to see is neuroperformance is going to begin to make a transition from something that people are kind of putting their toe in the water with to something where they really dive in. And they say, we have to do this for our organization in order to be successful, in order to compete. And you didn't ask this question, but let me go on and say, that's the next 12 months. 36 months from now, it's going to be impossible to compete without it. And so you're going to see early adopters, you're going to see it make its way into sport, and within 36 months, the teams who are not doing it are going to be consistently losing, simply because without it, you're just not going to be able to compete.
It's going to be an exciting time.
It's going to be a very exciting time. We're very grateful to be part of this movement, and very grateful to have the opportunity to participate in I think, an exploration of the continuation of how you can just improve human performance.
David, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.